So hello and welcome back yet again to another exploring Kalimdor with we're starting off with Onyx this time because why not? But we will also be joining up with Beryl to explore the alliance areas of Desolace or Desolace or however the heck you say it. Honestly, I never know. But Onyx here is leaving the jungles and rainforests of Feralis, and we are headed back off into the deserts of Desolace. So, let's just go ahead and get to it. Now, you can't talk about Desolace without talking about the Centaurs, and you can't talk about the Centaurs without wondering, and I don't know if there's a lore explanation yet, why the Centaurs on the Eastern Kingdoms and Kalimdor are terrible and came from an interesting union, and the Centaurs on the Dragon Isles are noble and are allies for the most part. But the Centaurs of Kalimdor are an interesting race. We'll land near some here. As you can see, they are definitely a bit, well, probably low polygon, but you know, they're a bit different than the Centaurs that we are questing with. Especially in the fact that I don't think that these Centaurs are very good at bathing because they are always surrounded by flies. But the Centaurs of Kalimdor, it is said, are the product of a union between one of the sons of, what was his name again? Let me look it up really quick because I am just that good. It was good job me. I am doing fantastic here. Sonaris. I don't know why I blanked on his name. But yeah, it was one of Sonaris's sons and the daughter of Therazine the Stone Mother. So Princess Thorandis and Sonaris's son Zatar, I think that was his name. They got together. They had a little love affair, and out of that we had Centaurs born. Interesting coupling. I don't like to think about it because if you go into Moderon, the very large mega dungeon in this zone, Therazine's not exactly my idea of the most beautiful woman on earth, but you know what? Maybe if you are a demigod, she is exactly what you want. Now, when you are playing on the Horde side, you can go right here to this nice little Shadow Prey village. It is tucked away to the one side. It's honestly not a bad little village. There's a fishing trainer and a trade goods and a cooking trainer that all have a few recipes that you might be interested in picking up if you are a 100%er. And unfortunately, as always, it's all hammocks. I mean, maybe it's more comfortable than the human style housing, but not my idea of perfect. Although if you did want your own cute little jungle adventure type house, this is a good one up here. I mean, you and 6 of your closest friends can have a beautiful place overlooking the ocean. So, I mean, that part's kind of good. But other than that, you've got Shadow Prey Village here, and I did discover something very interesting while I was just out kind of putzing around. And I found out about it by talking to, I think it was this guy over here. And he tells you all about how he is a great fisherman and a great diver, and he lets you know that you can replenish your breath if you're diving around here at these lovely little vents, and they're kind of scattered all through this area. It's been a long time since I've done the questing in this area, but I don't remember if you have a lot of underwater questing, but from what I understand, these vents are actually throughout the water and make it a little bit easier to not die. Also, I'm not sure what all these cages are for, but they're a little bit creepy. None of them seem to be occupied, but I'm not exactly sure why we need a cage under the water. You know, all these questions that you have in life. The only other thing I found of great interest in this area, other than the underwater vents and all these cages, is the wreck of a ship that is just offshore, not too far from here. So yeah, just to the north of Shadow Prey Village, and just right off the coastline, you can find the wreck of the ship the Gallant. Now, I was curious about it, so I looked it up on Wowpedia, and the Gallant was a ship that was wrecked as it was headed to the Feathermoon Stronghold. It was attacked by the Naga along the way, and the captain sailed to the nearest island and supposedly left his treasure chest behind. Now, I haven't actually found the treasure chest, but you can see the sunken ship here. And I did go inside of it because you can swim in through the windows and check out the hold, and there really isn't much here, unfortunately. I was kind of hoping that maybe his treasure was here, but it doesn't seem like it is. Which is too bad, because we do love a good treasure. But yeah, you can kind of just swim around in it. Unfortunately, like I said, I didn't find any treasure maps, which makes me a little bit sad. But, you know, if you want a lovely underwater wrecked ship to play around in, and you happen to be a druid, or a warlock for the underwater breathing, you know, this would make a really good hideout. I'm always on the lookout for hideouts. And this is a pretty good one. A little watery, but you can get around that. But yeah, I thought that was pretty interesting. Now, other than that, there are a couple other horde areas. There's also this island right here, just off the Slitherblade shore. It does tend to be a archaeology point for night elf archaeology finds, as is this area right up ahead of me here, which has the wonderful feature of actually having a flight point, which is a neutral flight point, which is always good. And yeah, there's another archaeology point here. And there is another flight point, which is a little horde exclusive one. And that is Furian's Post. It's not actually my words are just failing me tonight. It's not actually a inn or anything. It's not a rest area, but it does make a nice little flight point as you're coming in, if you're coming from the more heavily traveled horde areas. Now, you also have the Thunderaxe Fortress, which is held by the Burning Blade Orcs. They are hostile to both the Horde and the Alliance, and you do get an interesting quest here if you kill one of them, where you get to collect their ears. It's a little bit creepy. You know, we're not going to ask too many questions about why we're taking trophies, but, you know, it is what it is. Now, as you're going along, we will go up to Nigel's Point with Beryl, but you can see Desolace is very desolate, except for the one little area right over here which is Sargeron, which is an old night elf area that has been taken over by satyrs, who are siphoning off power from the artifacts of Elune over here. The artifacts themselves will give you quests, so it's worthwhile. And then as you go a little bit further, you see that there is one pocket of green, and that is the Cenarian Wildlands. The Cenarian Circle has been slowly and surely reclaiming Desolace and making it bloom again, at least in this area. And just off away from the Cenarian Wildlands is our last Horde exclusive area, and then we'll let Beryl take over the rest. But the last little Horde area is the Ghostwalker post, which, surprisingly enough, though it does have a rest area, it does not have a flight point, which always messes with my head. But it's a nice little questing hub. It is a Tauren area, so it's got a very, very Tauren feel to it. It's just a nice little area. You know, you can do the quests. They are also kind of working with the Cenarian Circle, if I am remembering right, although I could be completely wrong. Also, if you're a leather worker, I'm pretty sure this guy has a couple exclusive patterns for you. So if you are 100%ing your leather working, it is a worthwhile stop. So yeah, that is our Horde areas in the Desolace location. So now we will just turn it over to Beryl, and she will take us through the rest of the zone. Alright, so now we are back with Beryl, and she is actually starting off down kind of where Onyx started off, but at the Alliance area that is your closest flight point to the dungeon Moderon, and that is Thargid's camp. It's not too far away from the Shadowprey village, so I'm pretty sure that there is a bonfire there when you are doing the bonfire questing for Halloween. So if you need to douse a Horde bonfire and you don't know where Shadowprey village is, just go ahead and pretend that you're going to Moderon. Now, I did find out while I was looking around on Wikipedia one other really interesting thing that I did not know about Desolace, and that is that Desolace was once the home of a very special breed of horse that was too wild and too proud to be tamed, and they eventually became corrupted and became the Felsteeds that warlocks use. So I thought that was really, really interesting. Also, if you are questing around, this is another archaeology point, but it is also the Kodo graveyard. It is where the ancient Kodos, when they feel their time is coming, they migrate here and die. And as you can see, there are a lot of ancient Kodos walking around, and I would think that maybe Kodos have gotten smaller through the ages, because those are some big old bones. So I thought that was kind of interesting. Now we will skirt around the Ghostwalker post, not because I'm really that worried about being marked for PvP, but just because it's polite. You can also see where a couple of these Kodos might not have made it, but you know, that's okay. And we are going to run in here to Carnum's Glade, which is where the Cenarian Circle has set up. And as you can see, it's, you know, your typical little questing hub, but it's kind of nice. You know, you've got this giant, I think that might be a functional moon well in the middle of it. Also, if you are a Horde player and you do daily pet battles, there is a daily pet battle that is in this area. Also, If you are Horde or Alliance, since this is a neutral area, there is a very, very cute unoccupied house here. So if you're looking for your own version of player housing, since Blizzard still won't give us player housing, and your player actually wants a very, very pretty little night elf house, you have one right here. Honestly, I do love the night elf night elf design in their buildings. The beds look comfy, a lot more comfy than a hammock, in my opinion. And I do like the fact that the beds are kind of tucked back into the cute little alcove. Plus, you have your little globe here showing the map of Azeroth. Kind of neat. Also, on the back side of Azeroth right here, it sort of does that old mapping thing of here there be dragons. You can see there's just a giant dragon on the back side. Although from what I hear, we might actually be going to the backside of the World of Warcraft, maybe in the next expansion if the data miners are even slightly right, which would be kind of cool. Now, if you are a Horde player, this is your pet battle. It's not too hard, you just have to watch out for this one. It does a stone rush a lot. Kind of annoying. But not a hard pet battle at all. Alright, so we are going to just keep on keeping on. You know, Desolace is one of those areas that, except for the fact that I know I've quested in it because I've done Lore Master a couple times now, none of the quests in this area really stood out to me a lot. I remember I've had fun in this area, but they just aren't super memorable. There is no The Day That Deathwing Came in Desolace, unfortunately. Too bad. That's a fantastic quest. But yeah, other than that, you have a lot of Night Elf ruins, and you have one more Alliance stronghold right up here on the border between Desolace and the Stone Talon Mountains. I think that's what's just to the north there. Yes, haha. My memory is occasionally decent, and that is Nigel's Point. And this is usually the first area that most Alliance players will come into. And as always, it is a very nice little night elven area. You've got a keeper, you've got some dryads frolicking around, you've got night elves, but you also have some regular humans hanging out with them, but this is mostly a night elf area. And you do have a rest area here, which is more very nice night elf architecture. I just happen to think that the beds that night elves use look incredibly comfortable. So that is where we are going to leave it. There's probably a bunch that I skipped in Desolace, but you know. Oh, one thing I did forget to mention is that the original name for Desolace was Mashanshi, which meant something like the fertile crescent of the Earth Mother or something along those lines in the Tauran language, because this was a ancestral Tauran area, at least until the Centaurs came along and drove them out of it. So yeah, that is about it for this area. Now our next area is probably going to be a Onyx exclusive, because we are going to Mulgore. So I hope to see you then. It'll be next week. Leave me a thumbs up if you don't mind. It always makes me smile, and I will see you next time. So, Beryl, say goodbye, Beryl. Beryl's like, yep, see ya.